Hi, Chef. How are you?
I'm good. How are you?
I'm good. Guess what I did this weekend?
What'd you do?
Well, I took a 10-hour car ride.
Oh, yeah?
And during that 10-hour car ride, I listened to the Cooking with Earth Fare podcast.
Yeah?
The Leftovers.
There you go.
I didn't really, that would be strange, right? If we were listening to our own podcast.
I mean, I listened to it just to see if I sounded goofy or not.
You sound goofy?
A little bit, sometimes, but I think that's the whole point.
Right. We actually listened to an audiobook. Do you ever listen to audiobooks?
I haven't in a long time, but I definitely have. I actually, when I was younger, I went to the public library and got Japanese for beginners and used to clean the house and listen to that. I still can't speak Japanese, so I don't know if that's
a Renaissance man.
I don't know if that's a testament as to if that works or not, but
I like it.
Yeah.
I like it. Okay, so we're making an exciting dish today. If you want to listen to that podcast, by the way, just go to wherever you listen to podcasts and search Springer Mountain Farms Podcast Network, and you'll see the leftovers, and you can get highlights from the show that we do live every Monday at 4. And speaking of the show that we're on right now, what are we making today?
So we're gonna do a fried dumpling. So kind of a, whether you want to say it's like a gyoza or a pot sticker, it's very similar to both.
Okay.
But it's a dumpling made from a ground meat filling. We're gonna use pork and Springer Mountain Farms chicken today. And then we're gonna serve it over some charred broccolini with a little bit of kimchi to give it some zing.
Excellent. All right, well, there's a beautiful picture of it right now on your screen, and after the short intro, we will get into it. I'm Cara Kneer, journalist, wife, host, and a mother of 2. I'm joined by Chef Brian Carson, who has over 15 years of culinary experience. Together, we're going to take the mystery out of everyday ingredients you can find at Earth Fare. This and more on today's Cooking with Earth Fare. Hey everyone, welcome to Cooking with Earth Fare, brought to you by Springer Mountain Farms. I'm Cara Kneer. Thank you so much for joining us today. We have an excellent show, and I can't wait to get into it. But first, a few housekeeping notes. If you're new to the show, welcome. We are in an Earth Fare in Cumming, Georgia. So the sights and sounds that you will see are actually going down right now in the Earth Fare. So we hope that you'll watch us online. You can go to Springer Mountain Farms Facebook page. They have a Roku channel. You can go to springermtn.com. We are on YouTube now. You can also go to Earth Fare's Facebook page. There are so many ways to watch the show, but if you happen to be in the area, we'd also love for you to come to the store and check us out live. Why do we want you to come to the store? Because we give away free stuff, and the chef is super knowledgeable. So if you're in the studio audience, which we love having you here, you can ask a question, you come up, and you can win the ingredients that will actually be featured in the dish today. But don't worry, if you're watching at home too, go to slido.com, enter a few things like your email address, hashtag Cooking with Earth Fare, ask us a question. It will pop up on my tablet, and I will be able to ask Chef any of the questions that you all have. And you can ask questions about really anything that you might be curious about. We want to start asking you too. We do a secret ingredient every week, and we want to know what maybe you need help cooking with. So let us know in the comments on Facebook or on slido.com, and we will take those into consideration when we're doing our dishes for future episodes. Thank you so much for joining us. We have a little teaser today. We're going to give away, like we do every episode, a $50 gift card to Earth Fare. Ask a question on slido.com. You will automatically be entered to win this. And as we told you in the last 2 episodes, somebody at the end of this show is going to win $200 gift card to Earth Fare. How cool is that? All you had to do was cook a dish that we had made on Cooking with Earth Fare, tag us, and a few of you did. And we are delighted to tell you who's going to be the winner of that in just a few short minutes. So stay with us. Without further ado, let me introduce the man with the plan, the one, the only, Chef Brian Carson. Hi, Chef.
Hi, how are you?
I'm good. How are you?
I'm great.
Okay, let's, we tease it on Facebook.
Yes,
People always answer and let us know what's going on, but let's reveal the secret ingredient.
Yes, absolutely.
For this week's episode. It is, drum roll please, dun, 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 dun.
Kimchi.
Kimchi. And I have to admit, producer Matt was asking me if I liked it, and I do, but I'm definitely not a connoisseur on it, and I don't know much about it. So you always need this.
You always put them away, and I always need
Yes,
them.
okay.
They were secrets to me too. No, I'm just kidding. I picked them.
Okay. So tell us a little bit about the ingredient and what we're making today.
So, first of all, we're going to talk about kimchi for just a second.
Sure.
So, you'll notice that just by looking at these, and these are just several of the brands that they carry here at Earth Fare, but the biggest thing you'll notice is that this one is very light, and it even says on there that it's a white kimchi, and this one just says kimchi, but you notice that it's red. Well, it's red from goji karu, which is a Korean chili flake. So the red ones are going to be spicier than the white ones, but they're going to have the same flavor. So when we open these up, you're going to smell that funk, that kimchi. Love that flavor, that kind of sour, that very fermented flavor. So this isn't going to be smelling like ferment like beer, but this is going to have like that stinky cabbage, radish, good stuff. And they make it, you can make kimchi out of anything. I personally have made it out of onion tops, like spring Vidalia onions here in Georgia is one of the things that I love playing with. We've done it out of the tops of those. We've done it out of collard greens. So we've done it out of, you can pretty much do it out of any leafy vegetable. Traditionally, it's made from Napa cabbage. Okay. And it's usually fermented in a clay pot, traditionally underground for several months. And that develops, they ferment it as whole heads, so it's cut down. This stuff, if you notice, this has been cut down. This particular brand has a little bit larger chunks than this one, where we have smaller chunks. But kimchi can have carrots in it, garlic in it, all kinds of good stuff. So it's tons of flavor, and that's why it's one of my favorite things to cook with, and also just eat right out of the jar. It's delicious.
Okay, sounds good. Let's get into it. Let's tell people on a scale of 1 to 10, 10 being the hardest, how hard or difficult this dish would be for us layman folks.
This, I'm gonna go ahead and say this is gonna be reaching into the teens.
Ooh, teens?
Yeah. This is going to be a 10 plus.
Okay,
and the only reason I say that is because we're going to make the dumpling from scratch.
All right.
And once you see me do it, I think you'll understand. I'm saying 10, but I think we can pull it off.
Okay. All right, let's get into it.
So before the show started, I went ahead and created dough just because I didn't want you to watch me kind of fiddling around with it. But we're going to talk about everything I did, and it's very simple, okay?
All right.
So we're going to start with a food processor.
Okay.
So you need a good one. You need roughly 2.5 quart to 3 quart size. And what you want to do is you want to use the blade or the dough attachment. A lot of them will have. For this model, it is a plastic blade. So it's much like the chopping blade, but it's just all made of plastic.
Okay.
And that's because we're not trying to cut, we're trying to knead or build this dough. So very simple dough. It's literally 3 ingredients: flour, water, and salt. So we have roughly I believe it's 3 3/8 cups of flour, and that's just AP flour.
And all of you'll notice when Chef cooks, he kind of just finesses the ingredients.
Well, I measured these out for sure because this is a dough. You can't mess with dough. So I definitely weighed and measure all this out.
But you can find all the specific ingredients on SpringerMTN.com.
So one we're gonna get, and this will go to prove that I actually weighed stuff out for this dough.
I believe you.
So we're gonna do a half a teaspoon of salt.
Okay.
So if you want to help me out, give me a half teaspoon of salt. Okay. And I've got a little bit of flour. You're gonna need a significant amount of extra flour for a couple of reasons. One,
where's it going?
Right in that hole. Yeah. One, you're gonna need it for forming the dough and rolling the dough out because it prevents your dough from sticking to everything. Also, things are different. Humidity, all these things. So when we build this dough, it may be tackier than we want. What we're looking for is this dough to roll around this machine in a ball on its own. That means that it's not too tacky and it's going to be able to be formed easily. And I'm going to show you that before we start the machine so that you can know that, because you won't be able to hear me while it's running.
Okay.
So if you will set this over just to the side. What we're going to do is I'm going to use the pulse button on here. So if you see when I hit it, that blade starts kicking everything up. We're going to add that water slowly.
Okay.
And you want to use cold water, not hot water.
Okay. Good to know.
And you'll see our dough is already starting to kick around. See it starting to come together. And it's almost what we want. We're going to take that flour. We're going to add a little bit. This is exactly what I was talking about.
To the top?
Yeah, if you want to. Here, just toss a little handful in there.
Okay.
Yeah, we'll try that.
Okay.
And this is one of those things, like you do want to just add it kind of slowly. But you'll see, there we go. You see how it's pulling away from the sides? Nice looking dough ball. I'm going to actually pop this open and give you guys a look inside.
Okay.
On my special camera over here to my side here.
I was going to say, do you want me to use the carrot
Oh,
can?
you could use the carrot can. That'd be great.
I can.
We'll do it this way. So when you look inside here.
Okay.
Get that in focus.
There we go. So focusing, focus.
So what we want to be able to see is it's kind of tacky. You see how it's got a little stickiness to it. But you should be able to grab it out of there. Whoop.
And this is just a base dough for really any kind of dumpling or...
Of this style of dumpling,
this style, okay.
So essentially from this, what we do is we would take the dough, dump it out onto the table, and then just sprinkle the table with a little bit of flour, dump the dough out, and form the dough. And I'll show you, this dough is great, but we're gonna reserve this. I'm gonna use this later. Because we're gonna kind of fast forward TV magic for you guys at home. I will say, you'll notice, it is pretty messy to do this. So what I do a lot of times, I'll keep a pot or a bucket of hot water, and I'll dip my hands in that and get the dough pieces off. Because you don't want wet hands when working with dough, and you don't want sticky hands with a bunch of different parts of the dough on it. So what you end up with is a dough that we've got enough flour on, and you can see me moving it around.
That's pretty.
And it should be very soft. And you notice how, you've heard people talk about meat resting, but nobody ever talks about dough resting. And with this dough, you don't really have to worry about it, but I'm gonna show you guys just how you can test if a dough is rested, and that would be used if you were making a pasta or any kind of dough like that.
Okay.
But if you poke your finger in, and you see how it comes back.
I just want to do that.
Yeah, you see how it comes back to kind of closes the hole up? When your dough hasn't rested enough, when you push in, it will automatically just kind of go back to what it was.
Okay.
But when it's a nice rested dough, you'll push it in and your indentation will stay there 90%.
All right. I'd say that's a good rested dough.
It is. So we're gonna give this just a second. It doesn't need to do anything else. We're just gonna work on the filling, and then we're gonna come right back to this beautiful dough and make our dumplings.
Okay, I'm excited.
So for the filling, what I have here is a 2-to-1 ratio of Springer Mountain Farms ground chicken.
Okay.
And a little bit of ground pork that we also got here at the Earth Fair. Ground pork, nothing special about it. It's usually made from pork shoulder. Theirs actually is a little leaner here at Earth Fair, so I'm assuming that they maybe use some of the more leaner parts of the pig, or that maybe this particular pig just wasn't the same size and had the same fat content. So what we're gonna do, in the classic style of my cooking as well, we're gonna add more pork, because I really like pork. I know we cook chicken all the time, but pork's delicious. There's no arguing. So for that, we're gonna use everybody's favorite bacon.
Bacon.
So not a ton. We're just gonna do this one where it's gonna give a little smokiness to the filling, but also what that's gonna do is just add that fat. And we really want that fat in there, because fat is flavor, and fat's what makes everything delicious.
All right.
So we're gonna use about 3 or 4 strips. Set this out of my way. And what we're gonna do is we need to cut this up really fine, because this is going into the filling, which is all ground meat. Okay. So we don't want too many weird textures, or not weird textures, we just don't want any like gooey chunks of bacon that aren't cooked.
Okay, that makes sense.
So what we're gonna do is just do our best to really take this all the way down to almost like the same texture.
Okay.
And this kind of takes a second with the chopping and
Got it.
Because if you know, you've cooked with bacon before, or you've ever tried to chop bacon, it's not always the easiest. You could just use the food processor. I don't have time to clean it in between us making the dough and all that good stuff.
And since this is such an involved recipe, you could do this like on a Saturday afternoon when you have some free time and freeze the dumplings, right? Or
you could freeze the dumplings. You could also just freeze the filling.
Okay.
Now I would say, I don't know how the dough would react frozen, but what you could do if you were gonna try that, I would say line each dumpling or each wrapper when we roll them out, I'll show you what I'm talking about, with a little bit of parchment paper and a little bit of cornstarch dusting. And the cornstarch just has a much more resilience to caking up, because it takes so much moisture away from things that it's not gonna make your wrappers stick together.
My mother is half Polish, so I grew up eating a lot of pierogies. So we would do that. We would put them in parchment paper and freeze them. And you can't do like the onion butter thing in there, but that's all you have to add to it.
You can basically just build these from earlier ingredients. So we're just gonna clean up a little bit.
Okay, we have a question from Holy God. Thank you so much. Hello. What is the best way to enjoy kimchi and still retain the probiotic benefits?
So probiotic is basically just good for you bacteria. So just like anything else, you don't want to kill it. So the ways that you kill it is one, heat. Is a huge thing. So if you cook this, so for this recipe, we're cooking out some of the probiotics, but we're going to add the kimchi at the very end so that we're not cooking it down in there.
Sure.
So that's the biggest thing. The other thing is don't mistreat it. Make sure you read the back of your kimchi.
Okay.
A lot of it says, you know, refrigerate after, or keep refrigerate all the time. That's what you should do. And the reason being, like, you'll notice that it's fermented, so it creates carbon dioxide, it creates bubbles. So a lot of times you might pop the top and it makes a little hiss at you, or the jars might get swollen, or if you leave it in the car too long, all of these things are gonna affect that probiotic life. So you really just wanna pay attention, make sure you treat it well. Don't store it in a high light environment. Don't keep it in the heat. Keep it refrigerated, keep it dark and cool.
Okay, all right, thanks for the question.
Yeah,
good
absolutely.
question.
So, next thing we're gonna do to our filling, it's a very simple filling, but we're gonna add some things. We've got a piece of ginger that I already peeled.
All right.
And we're just gonna slice this guy. Again, we want all these textures to kind of come together, and we don't want huge chunks of stuff in our filling.
Got it. And everything you guys see can be purchased at Earth Fair, obviously. Okay. This looks amazing. What other things do you like to put in dumplings?
So that's the thing. You could take this same dough, you could make crab rangoon. So that's, you know, you could use fake crab or surimi. You could do cream cheese, scallion. There's just so much stuff. That's why I wanted to do this recipe, is that if you learn to make the dough, the possibilities are endless. You can literally put whatever you, I don't care if you want to put mozzarella and pepperoni in it.
Sure.
If that's what you want to do, you can.
Delicious.
Now,
yeah, there's no rules here. We don't judge.
Obviously, that's not a fried dumpling. It's not a pot sticker, but it's still a dumpling.
Sure.
So, we've got some minced ginger.
Ooh, we have another question from Brockadude1286 who says he or she just joined. Welcome. Thank you for watching. We're so happy that you're here. Is there an option for people that have a sensitivity to gluten?
So,
he's good at this question.
You could use different types of flour. I personally have used buckwheat flour, which is one that was really, really good. You could use, I'm drawing a blank here, not almond flour, but you could probably use almond flour as well. But I've used buckwheat flour, and I've also used yucca flour.
Okay.
That's what it was.
I wish I could help you. I'm like, I don't know.
We talked on the episode we did the burrito bowl about the yucca tortillas. And
so those were good.
Yeah, so yucca flour could definitely be used. I will say you might have to adjust your water just because the different starches and the different flours will react differently. But once it's in that processor, it's really a matter of add more flour or add more water to get the consistency you want. It's that simple.
Okay.
So what we got our ginger in there. Real quick, we're just gonna take the bottoms off these scallions because we're gonna use them later.
Yes, and I will say, this is season 2, episode 20. Ooh. So all the recipes that Chef Brian have created, concocted, live on the springermtn.com website. So look back through, and if you have any questions, you can post pictures, make those. I've made most of the recipes. If I can do it, you can do it.
Right. I don't know why I said right. Like,
no,
yeah,
it's true.
if she can pull it off, you can.
It's fine. Everybody can do it.
So we got a little bit of scallion in there. And the last thing we're gonna add, just a little bit of chopped cilantro.
All right, excellent.
And then what we're gonna do is that's not the last thing, I spoke too soon. We're actually gonna add some white sesame seeds, a little bit of soy sauce.
All right.
And then obviously some salt and pepper.
We asked you earlier, if there's an ingredient that you're like, what? How do I use this? What dish can I make with this specific ingredient? Let us know. Also, if there's a technique that you're wondering about or you want Chef to elaborate on, we're going to start posting technique videos, so keep your eyes peeled for those as well, because a lot of things you might not know how to do, so we're gonna help educate you on that as well.
Right. So what I'm gonna have you do, so I've just put in about a teaspoon of soy sauce, not a ton, and also when you add that soy sauce, you wanna watch your salt in your filling, so we're gonna start with black pepper.
All right.
We're gonna kinda let the soy sauce be our salt, plus we got bacon in there, so there's salt in that as well.
Sounds good.
Next, we're gonna add just a little bit of white sesame seeds.
And you said you really like cooking Asian foods. So.
I do, because it just it encompasses all the flavors. So you get Sweet, salty, crunchy, sour, so many good things in there. So what we're gonna do is I'm gonna actually have you help me out.
Okay.
And stir this mixture up. We're just really just gonna take a wooden spoon.
Okay.
And just stir it up like you're making a meatball or something.
Okay.
And I'm gonna start rolling out this dough.
All right, excellent.
So one of the things I will say is you wanna make sure you keep your hands clean and your board clean of any particulate. So like I chop cilantro, and if I don't get it off this board, it'll end up in that dough. Now that's not a problem, in my opinion, but if you're at home and you want it to look pretty, you might feel differently.
Can you overwork a pot sticker dough?
Not really.
Okay.
Like I said, if you do, you just let it sit longer.
Okay.
So what we're gonna do is we're gonna take our dough, we're gonna cut off a little piece, and you could do this several ways. You could create this into little balls and then roll the balls out flat. We're actually gonna do kind of a sheet method today. And then I'm gonna cut out some shapes and kind of show you a couple of different ways to fold.
Okay.
So we give a little dusting. It's a very messy recipe, so don't be afraid if you get a little bit of flour or stuff like that on the table or the counter or the chairs.
Nope, cooking is messy.
Right.
That's part of the fun.
Pro tip 1, make sure you wipe your rolling pin down with flour, because I just didn't and then my dough stuck.
It's fine.
Yeah.
Can't be perfect, Sean.
We can try. We can shoot in the pursuit of perfection, correct?
It's true.
So, very easily,
Okay.
some little moisture on this. That's what happened.
You are very brave to try this. Need more flour?
On camera?
Yeah.
In front of millions of people?
Yeah, millions of people.
Millions of That's that Presidents of the United States song, right?
Right.
Millions of peaches. Yeah.
That's right.
So,
we were
what
born
we
in
have
the 80s.
here, right?
Yes.
So what we have is a little thin dough. We want to make sure that we get it.
Okay.
We've got a couple of pieces there. Just thin, thin, thin.
All right.
Not too thin. You don't want cracker thin.
Well, I think it's intimidating too I mean, you're making your own dough and then you have to roll it out. It's intimidating for some people, but I think something like this just takes practice.
It does. And the thing is,
patience.
Yeah, and just try it. I mean, you can't mess it up. Like if it comes out and it tastes good, and what happened? You know, nothing. You did what you want. You're set out to do.
Okay.
So what we're gonna do is I'm actually gonna use a bowl. One of the shapes we're gonna cut out. We're gonna cut a circle. So I'm gonna go right here where I know the dough is nice and thin.
Okay.
Cut out a circle. Ooh.
Careful.
So we'll reserve that one. Again, the biggest thing is making sure that everything has enough flour on it, because you don't want the dough sticking to anything, because what will happen is you'll start building dumplings and then go to pick them up off the board and they won't go anywhere.
Right.
So the next thing we're gonna do is we're gonna do a square shape. And I'll show you similar to what we did in the picture.
Okay.
And actually I think I'm gonna do 2 round shapes. So I'll go back and
no
roll
egg
them
in this recipe.
So not in the dough. So
Okay.
that's more of a one-time. So you could do a egg dough. You can also do a version of this dough where you use fat instead of water.
Mm-hmm.
Personally, I like to use this dough just because it's way more forgiving. With the fat and everything, like the dough has to be worked quickly. It has to be kept colder because it'll start to sweat and things like that. So this is a much easier way to get everyone here to approach this.
All right.
So we'll do 3 different shapes for it.
Okay.
I think I got enough dough here to get one more circle. Yeah. Perfect. This takes me back because when I used to make biscuits with my mom growing up, you know, we would do hand cut biscuits or use old, like the top of a mason jar or something like that. And I would always take all the scraps of the dough and then build it into like a giant biscuit and throw it in, and that was for me.
Yeah. How'd that work out? Good?
Great. I mean, clearly, I like biscuits. So, not quite perfect on that round one, but that's okay. I'll show you what we're going to do.
All right.
Also, none of this is bad. This dough is still good.
Sure.
Put it right back into your bowl. Work it from the top to the bottom.
I don't mean to brag, but when I was in 4-H, I don't know how many of you know about 4-H.
Oh, that looks great. You did a great job.
Oh, good. I did win grand champion for my crescent rolls.
Did you?
Sure did. Now, it did take, I made
Now,
them with a nice lady, Helen Ruth, down the
roll or
road.
an actual croissant?
No, it was a crescent roll, but I mean, she had a process. It took us like 3 days to make these things.
Really?
Yeah, but they were delicious.
That's crazy.
But it took way too
long.
long.
And that was in 4-H, you said?
Yes, it was.
Huh. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to place our dough in a bowl. It's going to live there.
Okay.
And I'm actually going to move all of our dumplings got a lot of space issues right now. So
That's
we're
all
gonna
right.
just clean this up.
It's good, Chef. It's good.
Yeah, because we do have to cut some more veg just for a second. So we're just gonna clean this side up. We got plenty of room to fill our dumplings on the other side. All right, so dumplings are gonna go first because they're gonna take longer to cook. So what we're gonna do is we're gonna turn this onto about a 7.
All right. So like a medium-high heat. Okay.
Yes.
And just so people know, the texture of the dough should be very thin
very
and almost like a
soft.
pie dough, like a soft pie dough.
Even softer than pie
Yes.
dough. Even softer than pie dough.
Okay.
So what we're gonna do is you wanna take a spoon and get a fair amount.
Okay.
The amount of filling is gonna be determined by the shape of your pot sticker or your dumpling. So for this one, we're just gonna do a very, very simple, oh, I forgot one thing. Need one egg. So the only egg in this recipe is just used to seal the dough.
Okay, great.
And that's just one whole whipped egg. So a little bit of egg around the 2 edges you're gonna mash together. Egg does not stick to egg. So you don't want to go all the way around. You want to do it from 2 sides and then take your corner to your other corner.
We have a question that is a little off topic, but it's from our friend Sunny. Thank you for watching again, Sunny. Butter versus coconut oil, which do you prefer with cooking? Is one better for some dishes versus others?
So I don't cook with a lot of coconut oil just because, one, I think that sometimes when you cook with it, it tastes like suntan lotion. And that could be a personal thing.
Yes.
But for me, that's one of the things that I don't kind of like to play with.
Sure.
I haven't made anything with coconut oil that I was like, yeah, I like that. So I kind of avoid it.
Okay.
But by all means,
I'm going to say
have
butter, Sunny. Butter is better than
Butter-
coconut oil.
butter is
Yes.
better.
Yes. Okay. Thank you for the
So
question.
what I did here is you see that I just kind of trimmed up my dumpling.
Uh-huh.
And a lot of this work is always in the finishing. So what I mean by that is you can put it together and it'll look kind of crazy, and then you kind of work it and you can kind of finesse it.
All
Also,
right.
this is a very rustic dish, so it's it's gonna have a little bit of a look to it.
It looks very good. I'm so excited to eat this.
Yeah. So one of the things I showed you, so we'll do the square, and I'm gonna attempt to do a more traditional style fold here.
All right.
And I'll show you what I'm talking about. So we're basically gonna half moon this guy, press the edges together, and then we're going to attempt to make these pinch ridges.
Ooh, you're going to flute your edges.
Yeah,
Well,
so you basically are pushing the dough back and then pinching over. It's not working at all for me.
No, try it again. That's a good.
Yeah.
It's a good shot.
So we're gonna pinch and kind of push and pull it over. I think I messed up already, but
No,
it's all right.
it's
They're
fine.
gonna look good. This one just does not look good.
I'm like such a mom. I'm like, it looks great, chef.
Yeah, so what you can also do is
do it.
you can just kind of, just bail on that one and just give it a pinch job. You still have a dumpling. It still looks
Yeah,
good.
it's still gonna taste good.
Right. So with this guy, we're gonna roll this guy a little bit out. I'm gonna try that again because I've done it before, and now
To
it's gonna
what,
just
flute the
frustrate.
edges?
Now it's gonna just frustrate
All
me.
right, let me know if you need my help.
Yeah, I mean, if
Okay.
bust out that 4-H knowledge. So some people actually seal these with a little bit of cornstarch and water too. That's another way that you can seal them if you
All
don't
right.
have egg or if you don't want to use eggs.
If anyone at home wants to attempt this dish, please do. We're on Instagram, Twitter, and Facebook at Cooking with Earth Fare or Cooking with EF on Twitter. Tag us so we can see what you guys made. And if this one's a little too difficult for you, then check out all the other recipes.
Right.
Okay, here we go.
Yep,
Round 2.
that's all right.
Oh,
We're
look,
gonna-
see, like
we're gonna
other
morph
people have
this.
sent in these pictures.
Yeah.
So great. That was one of my favorites. Thanks, y'all. We have some talented viewers.
So I
That's
did
good.
a different style here. I did more of like a satchel. So this is obviously something you could do. The only thing that you want to make sure is if you want to play with size or style of the folds, just make sure that the sizes are still pretty close.
Okay.
Because if you don't, then they won't cook evenly, and that's the last thing we want, right?
All right.
So I
Gotta keep
think
that in mind.
I'm going to get these in the pan.
Okay.
But you know what? I
Let's
think
do
I
it.
forgot my oil.
What do we need to do? Oil. We need oil.
I think I forgot my oil. So, not a big deal. I'll grab some in just a second. We'll start on the kimchi broccolini. Because this we don't need oil for.
Okay.
So all I did was just trim off the back end of the broccolini.
Okay.
Just because some of that has a tendency to be woody. And so you don't want that woodiness. So what we're going to do is we're going to crank this cast iron. I've actually already had it on for some time. And we're going to put this in there straight up. And what this is going to do is it's going to give us, you can hear it's already sizzling. We want char. We want a non-induced char, meaning like we don't need the fat. We want this to just kind of do its own thing and get just kind of blistered. And I'm pushing down on it a little bit. You can do that with tongs if you feel unsafe.
Okay.
Because really we're just going to blister this. We're going to hit it with a little bit of chicken stock at the very end just to make sure that's done, and it's going to kind of create its own sauce. It's not a big issue.
All right.
The next thing we're going to do is we're going to pop the top on some kimchi.
Okay, let's do it.
We're going to need to cut up some of that and get it ready to go in there.
Let's get to that featured ingredient.
Yeah.
All right.
Now I will say, just beware, when you pop the top on this kimchi, it does smell.
All right.
So when you, it's got funk to it, as it should.
I like it.
Yeah. So
I like a little funk.
Me too.
It's good. All right.
Me too. So we're just going to pull some of this out. And we don't need a ton. And actually, this brand, we don't have to cut it all. So I'll demo real quick. You see how this brand is more kind of chunk acceptable to just eat or throw right in there if you want. Not a problem. This one, however, has a lot bigger chunks like that. So we'll take some of those and we'll just chop those up a little bit. And I'm actually going to be a little crazy here. I'm going to use a little bit of both brands just because I know that I really like this brand because it's got a lot of other stuff in it.
Okay.
And we don't need a ton. Oh, there we are.
Okay.
So this, again, just a rough chop, nothing fancy. And this is going to add so much flavor. Kimchi is one of those things that it just encompasses so many flavors. It's savory. It is
I can't wait.
Salty. It is just amazing. I love cooking with it. I love eating it. There's just so many things you can do with it. And it goes good with so much because it has so many flavors going on.
Sure.
So it can kind of take anything and everything to the next level. So we got our pan down a little bit lower.
I smell it.
And what we're going to do is we're going to very gently place our dumplings in there.
Nice. Is there a certain way of folding that you prefer?
So, no. I mean, it just depends on my mood.
Okay.
I've done several different shapes, if you will, which I've done. So a lot of these shapes too, you can do. That's what I love about this dough is that it's so versatile that you can do these shapes and make all kinds of stuff.
Right.
So you can also it's also fun to just kind of find out all the different shapes out there. And when you look on the internet, there's just so many different shapes of dumplings that you can do to get different textures.
Right.
So like I like the satchel ones just because you end up with all this stuff in the middle.
Yes.
It's just like this big, mouthful of this dumpling and filling. Also, I like if I'm making like a dipping dumpling, I like the big triangle ones because you got all these corners get thin and crispy edge, and you can dunk those in all of your favorite sauces.
Sounds good.
But so you see how we're starting to get the char on our broccolini?
Yes.
That's what we're looking for.
That's what we want.
We want that.
Okay.
We want those things. And actually, I'm going to take 2 spoons.
I mean, I think this recipe is labor intensive, obviously, but it's not technically hard if you have an idea on how to use dough. That's really the sticking point.
And see, what I'm doing now is I'm just moving my dumplings around to make sure that they didn't stick to the pan. Yeah, don't look at them. They're not that pretty. So one of the things you can do at home if you want to have your dough act a little bit more rigid. So here it was very soft.
Sure.
So you can take that dough just like this when it's in this nice ball, pop it in the freezer, pop it in the refrigerator, either or.
Okay.
And what that's going to do is it's just going to tighten it up a little bit. Same with like if you're making pie dough or pie crust at home.
Sure.
So that's what I would say is that if you're looking And I think that's really why a lot of my folds didn't want to play with me today, is because of that, is that we didn't have a cold dough. But that's okay. Like, it's still going to taste delicious. It's still going to look good, and you'll see all that when we get done.
All right, excellent. We have a question from Facebook from Shelly. Thank you so much, Shelly. Shelly wants to know, is kimchi hot, like spicy hot? And can you treat it like a condiment? So could you eat it on hot dogs, etc.?
Yes, yes, and yes. Ooh. So, like I talked about in the beginning, if you get a white kimchi, the white kimchi is not spicy. Mm-hmm. It's very vinegary, it's very acidic, not spicy at all.
Okay.
The addition of the goji karu is what gives you that Korean chili flake, is what gives you that spice.
Ooh, nice.
So, for the sake of speeding this up a little bit, we are going to use just a touch of oil on this broccolini. Not a big deal. You don't have to. Like I said, if you really get your pan rip-roaring hot and you've got a little more time than trying to, show you guys at home, let it do its thing.
Okay.
Just put it in there. You'll get a beautiful, you want a bitterness, and it almost reminds you of that like wok flavor, or they call it breath of the dragon.
All right.
So, we're going to check on that. We're going to give that a little
Thank you, Shelly.
Rock and roll.
That sounds good. Kimchi on a hot dog?
Oh,
good.
Yeah. Actually, I was
like
going to say, kimchi on a hot dog is actually very good.
Sounds
So what we're going to do here is going to take a look at and that's what we want to see on our dumplings.
That's
we want to
pretty.
see that golden brown. And so we're going to take this guy, because it's kind of like a triangular shape, and we're going to sear its side. This guy, we're going to just flip him over. Oh, yeah. And you hear that nice crispiness. The satchel, we're going to try to roll around. All right?
Okay.
So we're going to let those keep going. And now what we're going to do is check on our, turn this back. Oh, that's up.
Okay.
Check on our broccolini. Starting to get some char. That's good stuff.
And how long does kimchi last in the refrigerator?
As far as I know, it won't go bad.
It won't go bad. Okay,
I mean,
excellent.
don't quote me on that, but I have never, I've personally had some for multiple years. So
all right, good to know.
I'm going to go ahead and just cut up some scallion for finished plate garnish.
All right.
And what we're going to do.
Okay. We're getting close to announcing the winner of our $200 gift card to Earth Fare and our $50 gift card for this show.
We are.
So hang with
That's
us.
Great.
And we have an audience member now. Hello. Ooh. Hi. Thank you for joining us.
Yeah, so we're getting good here. We're starting to look good. We're looking for what we're looking for.
Okay.
Just rolling my satchel one around.
All right.
That one's kind of the most difficult. Now, obviously, so from there, you could add some liquid and steam these if you want to. So what's going to happen, though, and we might actually have to do that just for the sake of showing you. But what's going to happen when we do that is you're actually going to get not so much crispiness on the outside. So that's why you could pull some of these dumplings and have some crispy and then finish steaming the rest of them if you wanted to. You can kind of play with it.
How do you know when the inside is cooked?
Well, we're gonna have to play a little game.
Okay. Oh, I like games. All right.
So I'm just moving some stuff around.
Okay.
So what we're gonna do is we're gonna get ready. We're gonna go ahead and dump our kimchi right into our pot here.
All right. So add that to the broccolini. Somebody asked earlier if you could put the kimchi directly into the dumpling.
You sure can.
Okay.
The only thing I'll say is you want to watch out with moisture. So inside of a dumpling, just like if you're making a ravioli or any kind of other dumpling, you don't want a lot of moisture inside, because as you cook it, it'll just get soggy and then the bottom will fall out.
All right. I want a soggy dumpling.
A little dark there.
It's all right. That one looks so pretty.
The big triangle one?
Yeah.
So we're feeling that. You can feel the filling. So the filling will get very resistant, if you will, to when you squeeze it.
Okay. It's nice. Let me get my carrot cam out again and get a close-up on the pans. Okay, oh, my finger's in the way. All right, that looks so pretty.
Oh yeah.
Yes.
And you smell that. You can smell all those flavors of the kimchi really waking up.
So you mix it all around.
Mm-hmm.
There's Paul. Hi, Paul. All right, there's our beautiful audience member. Hello. Yeah. Hi, crew. Hey, everyone. Hey. Okay, there we go. Sorry. Thanks, guys.
So we're getting really close. What I'm going to do, just to ensure that we're where we want to be, is is I'm just gonna stick these right in here by this fold, so I'm not really messing with the integrity.
Okay. Huh?
Not quite yet.
Okay.
But we're getting close.
Getting close.
This guy's probably done
exciting.
because he's thinner. And obviously, if you have a thermometer, you could use that.
Do you have a go-to dipping sauce for these?
So, because this dish comes with the veg side and the kimchi, you don't really need that. But if you were going to do it at home and you wanted to have a sauce, I would do a mixture of soy sauce, mirin,
go ahead,
and a little bit of sesame oil.
All right.
And then maybe some scallion in there as well.
Sounds good.
So you can kind of play with it and do several different things. So I'm going to get ready for this.
You need your plate?
I do want the plate.
It's like I'm such a pregnant person. Like, here's your plate.
Is it time to eat yet?
Yes. Okay.
So we're going to kind of drain a lot of our moisture. And the restaurant chef in me is sitting here going, make all the pieces face the same way. So we're going to do that.
Okay.
And this seems like a lot, so we'll back off a little bit.
All right.
We're going to do right to the plate.
And the recipe that's on springermtn.com, how many does that serve?
Oh, I mean, this, if you couldn't tell, there's still a ton of dumpling filling.
A lot.
Ton. And that dough will make enough to utilize all that filling. And obviously, like we talked about, you could freeze that filling and thaw that filling out and reuse it as many times as you want.
Okay.
Obviously, within reason.
Sure.
So, also you hear these cackling like that? That tells us it's kicking moisture out of the filling, which should mean that they're done.
Okay, pro tip, good to know.
Yeah. So what we're gonna do, take these guys.
Nice. Very good. All right, while Chef is doing that, should we announce the winners, ladies and gentlemen? Okay. Our first winner for the $50 gift certificate to Earth Fair is Holy God. Thank you so much, God, for asking a question. We appreciate it. Let us know how you want to be contacted. Beautiful, you're happy? Okay, we will reach out to you, but if you win, we need to know how you would prefer your gift card sent to you. So we will be in contact in just a second. And then let me get this right, because the winner of the $200 gift card is Amalia Davidson. Amalia Davidson. Thank you so much for posting a picture. You win $200 to Earth Fair. We so appreciate you watching and participating. And this goes for everyone out there. Please watch and participate, ask questions. You can win free stuff, people. How good is that?
I forgot one thing. We'll do a little bit
this looks amazing.
Leaves of salami. I cut the one big dumpling in half just so you could eat it on camera and not look crazy.
Okay, it's
and I want you to see the filling is perfectly cooked. The reason it's got some pink to it is from that bacon.
Okay.
So bacon always will maintain its color. This is not a raw or uncooked. And you can tell by you see how resistant that is.
Sure.
But the curing salt in bacon will always make it maintain a little bit of color.
Okay, that looks amazing. Chef Brian Carson, ladies and gentlemen. Thank you, Chef. Thank you to Springer Mountain Farms, as always. Thank you to Earth Fair for having us. Thank you again for coming to sit and check out the show. We hope you enjoyed yourselves. We hope you learned a little bit something. Don't forget to check out the podcast, The Leftovers. Just search wherever you download your podcast, Springer Mountain Farms Network. Listen to us there. And we'll see you back here next Monday at 4 o'clock. We'll be giving away things.
Yeah.
We'll be cooking up some delicious dishes. By we, I mean you. And I appreciate you all the time. And now
We're going to get you cooking more.
All right. I'm down for that. Is it because I told you I was in 4-H?
Yes, that's why.
I don't know. All right. Cheers, everyone. Have a great week. Thank you so much. Can't wait to try this. I love that.